Guys, it's good to see you. Having the opportunity to go through the film and just review the good and the bad, and really get down to the reasons why has been our focus, and to come up with really strong processes that we can move forward with. And so I feel good about that. I think the film doesn't lie, and so I think the good and the bad and the ugly. I think to get where you're going, you have to start where you're at, and it's the hardest thing when there's when a bye is kind of correlated with all of it, because you have to sit with it, and sitting with it, and not looking away, and really working to see your part in it, and to see where, as a coach, for me, where I've fallen short and where I can improve, and where I need to do better. Those have all been big parts of these last couple days, and so excited to get back at it today, and excited for this week. Have a really strong opponent coming in with a coach I very much admire and respect, and a team that is believing and playing hard, and is going to be a challenge, here at our place. So, with that, take any questions you guys got.
Dave, Blake and Squirrel, what's their status, and do you expect them to play?
They were looked at this morning. I think it's still ongoing for them. I wish I could give you guys a definitive yes or no. I think the truth of it is, they had some preliminary looks, over the weekend, but really were looked at strongly this morning, and I think it's still too early to tell.
Dave, you've coached defense a long time. When you have a team that maybe gets a little loose with its tackling technique, how do you approach that with them?
I appreciate the question. I think you get into, I think you have to meet them where they're at in terms of how they see it. I think it's important that we all see it the same way. And I know when you look at it on film, or you look at it in a TV copy, it should hit you in the face of just atrocious and bad and all this other thing. I've learned not to be shocked by coming around and asking, how do you see it, and why did this happen? And I think that's important, because that can help you with your way through it, right? And make the best connection with them. I think practice is the number one thing that comes to mind. I think we have to practice better, and I have to hold them to higher standards at the end of a play. I think we generally have a quick whistle when we practice, and I think the finish of defensive play can be better. And I think when we're not finishing the play in a football position, either tagging at the hip or thudding up on a ball carrier, if we're not doing that consistently enough, then I think what ends up happening is you're training guys to not finish in games and leave their feet and all this other stuff. And I look at my part in what showed up the other night, and so we're for sure going to be better at our approach with that.
Dave, you said after the game that at least your initial perspective was that maybe guys weren't trusting each other.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at film, does that jump out, or?
Yeah, I appreciate the question. I think defensively, whenever you have a game like that, or majority of the time you have a game like that, I think it's a lot of times it's unconscious. They don't come up and saying, you know what, this particular game on 3 days out, I'm just going to do my thing. I'm just going to, they don't. It doesn't necessarily happen that way. But when you get into moments within the game, what happens is they find themselves straying from technique or straying from assignment, and there's somewhere in them they feel that I have to make the play because no one else will, and there's a fair amount of that. on Thursday. And so the trust part, I'm much more fond of do your 111th than do your job. I just feel that do your 111th ties you to 10 other people, and they're counting on you to do your part, as opposed to the other way where it's just slowly kind of focused in on you. I think the tie to a team is really can be the strongest piece and also the most detrimental if you don't think they can hold up and do what we're asking them to do. And so I think getting into the middle of that and working to come out on the other side in a positive way is where we're at.
Dave, this might be one of the strongest the Big 12 has been top to bottom in a while. How do you go about kind of preparing for the rest of the schedule with 3 ranked teams and then even Kansas, which is obviously better than it has been in recent years?
No, I appreciate that. I think the focus on ourselves. I think part of the issue with us is trust in the process, and that what we're doing, how we approach things, how we rep things, how we prepare for things. That all of that's enough, right? That we don't need to make up anything or go outside of it. And I think if we get that right throughout a given week, and then when we get to game day and say there's pressure moments and there's an opportunity to kind of stray from things I've been doing all week or doing for multiple weeks, you've trained yourself to kind of stay in that technique or stay in that scheme, and we need that. And so, I think the process is fearless. It has no motion. It's an anchor when things are kind of going crazy around you. And so we need to anchor down.
Dave, if Blake is not able to go, how confident are you in Kyron, and what did you see out of him on Saturday that stood out to you?
No, appreciate that. I thought Kyron had some really strong poise and some confidence. I thought he took a lot of that stuff in stride. There wasn't any big eyes by him or any trying to make things happen when things weren't necessarily there. I thought he was seeing things clear, and when maybe a big hit was taken away, he put the ball down, and in all the phases of it, really up to that last drive, he put the ball where it needed to be. And so I thought that took a real quiet confidence from him, and I think we'll continue to see that with Kyron. He's shown that throughout, and so I have a lot of faith in him.
How has Jason Bean, on the flip side, changed as a quarterback since you saw him last year against you guys? And on the flip side, with Kansas having some unknowns at quarterback, how do you prepare for that defensively?
Appreciate that. Yeah, confidence would be the thing. And I think, it probably starts in the run game. And just, receivers are blocking, running backs are running hard, O-linemen are finishing things. And then it just opens up then just the numbers that you got to get in there to stop all of it. And then, it just opens up big plays behind that. And so there's confidence on the team and there's confidence in him. I think, you look at, this past game for sure, and he comes out just starting fast, and you could see that he's feeling it. And so I would anticipate that again. And, I think the run aspect is there with him, and his ability to off those play action passes, and there's limited RPOs, but there still are. But the shot plays to make plays is a way weapon, and we're going to have to be at our best to defend all of it. They use all 11, so we're going to have to as well.
Dave, obviously Dylan Doyle brings a lot to the table.
Mm-hmm.
What does it mean just to have a guy like him who brings so much?
I believe Dylan, it means a lot to Dylan. I believe that he can see a big picture. I think he can not get caught up in moments, but kind of see how this moment was brought on by maybe these other moments. And I think his perspective to some of the younger guys, I think can be can be helpful. I think there's a toughness with Dylan that's understated, and it's kind of cool to have that, to where there's not have to be a bunch of boastfulness and all this, but there can just be toughness, kind of standing still. And so I think that is new for some of our younger guys too. But yeah, I'm a big fan of his. It means a lot to him. He always puts in time, and I know it. This game is one that he wants. Just coming off, he did not have his best performance this last one, and so I know we're going to get the best Dylan for this next one.
Dave, you've given up 18 non-traditional points in terms of like safeties, kickoff returns, fumbles over the last 2 games. Where do you assess that issue? Does that fall more on coaching or player execution?
I think it's like, coaching, I would say right off the bat, and so I take responsibility for that. But then I think along with that, and this still falls under the umbrella of coaching, is I think, we're getting guys they're panicking, trying to make plays, and I think the coaching part of it, where I need to do a better job of it, is making that connection from team meetings to unit meetings to one-on-one meetings to side meetings, where guys really understand that, hey, we just have to trust this process that we've got. We've got to be able to do our 1/11th, right? Instead of chasing these plays, let's be where we're supposed to be, and these plays will come to us. That's the message. And I think when the losses aren't coming, when the losses are finding you, and it's funny how you start helping those losses find you, and I think we're in that space right now, and so to trust the process is a big part to get us out.
Dave, you talked a lot about the offensive line last week and kind of the expectations before the season as to where they're at right now. Another one was the defensive line. Do you think they're where you expected them to be at this point this year?
I appreciate that. I think overall we're probably behind where we'd like to be. I think this particular game, I thought there was improvement with our offensive line, and just finishing and playing with edge, and I thought pass protection, there's bright spots. I thought defensively in this past one, really the whole defense was kind of colored by, trying to make this play, that play, and every play, as opposed to just playing your responsibility and making your play. And I think we've been really working on that in these last couple days, and that needs to show up on film for our D-line to kind of get back to where they were. I thought just a couple weeks ago they were really kind of trending well, and we have to get back to what we were doing.
Dave, both you and Kansas coming into this game on a 2-game slide. How important is it for your team, for your locker room, to not be the one that's extends that losing streak to 3 Saturday?
No, I appreciate that. I think any time that you whatever you put out it's funny how it kind of comes back to you. And so just whether it's football or in life, really. And so just the opportunity we have this week to to have a ton of energy on the practice field, to practice with some really strong edge and some physicality in the days that we're going with pads, and then to really hone in on the execution piece, I think is really the most important thing. And I think if we do that, then that will give us the best chance at getting the outcome we want. I worry about being so outcome focused at the start of all of it, because that is probably something I didn't have a handle on in the beginning, and got us to where we're at in this place anyways. And so to get back on what we have to do today, what we have to do this afternoon, what we have to do with this meeting, with this walkthrough, with this practice, is really where the focus needs to be.
Coach, you talked.
Okay.
Okay. Coach, I remember after the BYU game, you were saying you guys felt like you had the confidence that you were going to win that close game
Mhm.
up till the very end. Do you feel like that confidence is still there, that you're going to win the close games?
Yeah. It's that was one of the things that was talked about in the locker room afterwards, after this one, was that everybody felt that. And so, it is. I think so much of it is a team that's close, that's tight, that right now is together, that is fumbling and bumbling over themselves, trying to win it themselves, as opposed to just relax and do your job and let it come to you. That's the best way I can describe it. And I think it's difficult because I think coaches get caught up in all that too. Grown-ups get caught up in all of it as just as well as our players. And so to just focus on what the focus needs to be is really the challenge.
Dave, what do you feel like their running back, Devin Neal, brings to the table? And does it get confusing when you hear Devin Neal with the carry and Devin Neal with the tackle?
I know. Yeah, I mean, is physical, is a violent runner. Falls forward. He will churn and grind out, the last 2-3 yards. That's the thing that sticks out to me the most, is that people kind of will have him hemmed up, and it's a 3-yard gain. No, it's a 5-yard gain. And I think what a difference that makes, right, in a drive and just the way they play, to get it to where it's 3rd and 1 or a 4th and 1 as opposed to a 3rd and 6. So we have our work cut out for us, just coming from the tackling performance that we put on to what needs to happen for this one.
Dave, 6 weeks into the season, like halfway through, preseason expectations and all of that can really be pretty far in the rear view. Does it get any simpler for you and the team itself to kind of look at what you've put out on the field and be like, this is us, this is where we're at? Does it get any simpler to manage a team now?
I appreciate the question. That's a good one. I think whether you have success or you have failure, there's always something to manage. Now, I think when you have success, there's generally like a lapse with that, especially if you haven't had success. You just feel like, I'm going to listen to whatever's being said because it works, or I'm going to do whatever they're telling me because it's working. The evils of success usually take a while to kind of settle and then manifest with complacency. I think when you lose, losing is more of an issue in the immediate. And then it gets to be, why do you listen? Because it's not working, and just a lot of the opposite things. And so either way, there's a great, you love college football because of the echo chambers of all of it, but the echo chamber with negativity or with losses or wins become a thing to manage as well. And so I think you can for sure grow as a person in going through all of it, because I think in all of that you find out a lot about yourself.
Coach, did you reach out to Taekwon yesterday after his 2-touchdown performance? And how cool was that to see?
Very
him
cool.
get the answer?
Yeah, no, I did. Yeah, it was very good. We're going to watch some of that today, and so really excited that he's back, and for him to be back in that type of way, pretty cool to see.
Thank you all.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Dave.